So one of the first things that I think that we need to go into is shrimping. And I know that I've covered shrimping before on this channel, but it's really, really critical. And if you guys don't know how to start to shrimp, then you're not going to be able to escape from the bottom for most things. So, or even defend guard passes and things like that. So when it comes to shrimping, and again, you see that I'm getting all the way on my side, right? And I've seen two different schools of thoughts coming from a brown belt and a 4th degree black belt, and they disagree on this, right? I'm of course going to go with the black belt, and that is that when we are shrimping, right, I want to get my hips light, right? So the difference is that with the brown belt that I was talking about, they wanted it to be an explosive thing, right? Where we are just really, really bouncing away. And let's think about that from a mount perspective. Somebody is sitting on my hips, their weight is on top of me, and I need to scoot out from underneath them. If I try to do this big explosive thing where I am just really shooting my ass out the side, my ass is actually probably going to hit their leg, and I'm not going to be able to get out there very quickly. So if I'm trying to get out from underneath somebody's mount, you know, it's going to be a little bit more of a chiseling, right? So it's a chisel, not a sledgehammer, right? So I'm going, boom, right? So instead of doing like expecting to get out in 2, maybe 3 explosive shrimps, we're gonna get out using like 10 little shrimps, and they just add together. And each time I'm just moving myself further down, and I'm doing more to block their knees so that they can't follow me, right? So out, block, out, block, out, block. Now, my ability to move, and you probably might not be able to see this from this angle very much, is that I get a little bit of daylight underneath my hips, right? This allows me to get my hips to move, and then I root my hips into the floor, right? So my hips are now not taking any weight, so now I can reset my shoulders and my legs so that I have a little bit more range of motion, right? So either my hips are taking weight or my hips are moving, and if my hips are moving, then my shoulder and my foot are taking that weight, right? So if we think about that, with how I started out this playlist, I mentioned, you know, that side control escape, right? To try to pull guard. What I'll do, right? I'm being held down like this. I'll pull down on their head a little bit so that I can release some of that shoulder pressure, right? And then I'm going to walk my feet in so that I can pressure my hips into their body, right? So they're sitting here trying to block my hips. I'm going to extend my leg back and come in. So if you see that this is not just a bridge here, right? I'm going to go ahead and go like this, right? I come up, and what's that movement? It's a shrimp, right? So I'm bridging in, and then I'm shrimping back so that I can get this knee between us, and then I start to square up, which is going to go into the next subject that we're going to talk about in this playlist, which is how to move on the mat when it comes to just like pivoting and that type of thing. So, again, for shrimping, I would recommend working on both sides, because you don't always have a say on as far as which side somebody's controlling you from, right? So if I need to get away, you know, maybe somebody's passing my guard and I don't want them to be able to take side control, it's going to be one of these guys. So lots of little chips. Sometimes people will switch sides, so I'll have to suddenly roll and defend from the other side, right? But the point is that in order for me to be mobile, I need to be paying very close attention to my points of contact on the mat, right? So either it's going to be my feet or my hip, my feet and shoulder, right? Or my hips on the mats when you're shrimping. So make it small, not too explosive, and I would do this every single day. Just, you know, you're watching TV or something like that, just be like, sorry honey, I need to practice my shrimps. Get on the floor and practice just shrimping. Alright, back in a second.